But yeah, from Chicago, Illinois. I was a gymnast growing up my entire life. So I competed, all through high school, competed 4 years of college as well. I did my undergrad at Wisconsin Oshkosh, which was about 3 hours north of Chicago. And that's where I, really got a ton of exposure to the weight room. I had a really good coach that saw that I wanted to do more than things that we were doing as a gymnastics team. So I was really fortunate during my undergrad, they restructured our curriculum and our program. And so I ended up minoring with strength and conditioning, as well as my major being exercise science and health promotion. So with that, it was a requirement to do an internship. So I did one with our strength and conditioning coach at Wisconsin Oshkosh. I worked basically football only the entire time that I was there, my senior year of college. And then after that, the other part of the internship was that we had to do an external one. And so I ended up going to the University of Kentucky in the summer of 2011. I had no idea about anything that was the University of Kentucky. I was a D3 athlete, didn't have a ton of exposure to the collegiate setting. And so I always consider myself really lucky that I just happened to stumble upon like this amazing Power 5 school in a really awesome strength and conditioning department. So that was my really big first exposure to strength and conditioning. I was there all summer. And then I remember one of the coaches asked me if I had ever thought about like moving to Kentucky, and I had never thought about it until that moment. And so I decided to pack up all my things and I moved there. I interned for the fall and then that following spring. And then that next fall, I ended up being a graduate assistant there. So I was a GA working with a ton of sports. Toward the end of my GA position, I think I ended in December, and it was a really odd time frame for jobs. And so I transitioned to football only at Kentucky. So I got to work with them, which was an awesome, awesome experience. And I totally recommend it to anybody, especially female strength coaches, to get exposure to that side of everything. So I worked with them for about 6 months straight, and then I got my position at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond. That was in the summer of 2015. And I was there for just shy of 4 years. And I just recently got a position at Clemson. So I've been here officially a year. I can finally say that. And I work with women's soccer and softball. And I also do the intern program at Clemson. So. You are on mute, sir.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, first of all, I just wanted to say congratulations on that 1 year mark. I know a lot of coaches love and wish they could say that sometimes, especially with the way this industry works. Also, I was a D3 athlete as well. So that's something that one of the main reasons why I would love to I had you on is to kind of talk about kind of how that transition worked from you working at the smaller level at the Division III, and then kind of how your world changed when you got to Kentucky.
Yeah. So like I said, I really didn't have a ton of exposure in the collegiate setting, especially in a big Division I setting. So I'm the youngest of 5 kids, but I was the first kid to go away to college and pursue athletics beyond the high school level. And so what I knew of collegiate athletics was my bubble in Wisconsin, Oshkosh. So everything that I knew was Division III stuff, and I had just not understood conferences, divisions, nothing. So the transition for me, people have always asked, how was it interning at Kentucky, and how did you manage to make that transition? And honestly, I think it was because I was so naive that I had no idea that it was such a big deal. I understood the work ethic that it took to be a athlete as well as a student athlete. And so that I think is across the board. Time demand that Division I has is just different because of the rules that they're allowed to have. Like D3's rules are slightly different, I believe. But yeah, I mean, I don't think, at least in my eyes, I didn't see it being a huge transition or like something that I really had to adjust to. I was just able to relate to the athletes and the fact that I understood what your day entailed. And I think that really gave me an edge. And the fact that I was like, oh, I'll just walk into this school and intern. Great. We're having a full understanding of what I was really getting into.
Yeah, I think that's something that I was super blessed as well. I was able to get a group of 5 internship, and that was something that at first, well, just like you were I was very naive in the aspect of like, I was doing strength and conditioning at my Division III school. And I get there and just the full scale operation that was going on there. And there's so many different things that I never even thought of as far as strength and conditioning goes. And that's something that I think a lot of people should experience, but at the same time, don't just like chase a name. Make sure you're chasing people who like care about your internship. So if we could talk a little bit about, now that you're kind of taking over and you've had that, full year of that internship coordinator situation, what are some of those things that you like to make sure that when you have interns come in, when they leave, what are some of those main keys that you're trying to like instill with them when they leave?
Yeah, so I actually was the intern director at VCU as well. So I did that for 4 years, and then I took over the position at Clemson when I came here. And when I came to Clemson, the staff was really restructuring the entire curriculum. So when I first started as an intern, there wasn't much of a structured curriculum. So like it was all practical. I just learned to coach my ass off. Are we allowed to say that?
Oh yeah, you're good.
Okay. I just learned the practical side of stuff and then just started to learn some names and things like that. But really a lot of it was like learning on the fly. And so people that are coming into this field, as far as interns are concerned, I think are really fortunate in the education that they're getting along with the practical experience. And so as far as the interns at Clemson, like you are always busy. There should never be time that you're like twiddling your thumbs and, sitting on social media, because we have so much information that we can give you, whether we've got like our main blocks in our program. So we've got like a strength manual and energy system development. We do movement stuff. We do injury mitigation and diagnostics, and we do leadership stuff. So we've got these 5 main blocks, and within those, there's projects and assignments and end of the unit work and research projects. And we just started doing a virtual internship where we're doing debates and making people pick sides and learn how to argue and all of that stuff. And so when we have our interns leave, like we want them to have a solid educational foundation. They should leave knowing all of these principles and taking away, all of the leadership stuff as well. And, as much as we appreciate the interns, like we want them to be in our program and experience it. And then we want them to take it and go somewhere else and just apply it and get more information and knowledge, because we can present you with stuff, but it's going to be based on like how we take it in and how we present it to our athletes and how we utilize it. So go somewhere else and learn how other staffs are doing this too, and take this information with you. Because we really just want to put well-rounded coaches out in the field. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of people miss that idea that you guys are pushing, and it might be selfish reasons, but I think having your interns or your GAs go off and learn from different people like you're talking about, and learning from different situations. When you're at one school, there's a completely different situation as far as weight room goes, how many coaches going on, how many athletes you have come through, and you might not be able to do things that you were able to do during your internship. So like you guys talked about, like, yeah, it's super important to know that practical stuff and the book stuff, but at the same time, like, it doesn't work everywhere. And that was something that for me was the hardest part, I think, as far as transitioning from my different schools. Was I thought what we did at one school was super great and I wanted to just do it at the next place, but it just didn't work. Or I would listen to something at a conference and be like, oh, I'm for sure using that. Like, that's gold. And then you get back and it's just impossible.